What is going on, everybody? In this video, we are giving you a state of the markets and some stock picks for February 9th, 2022. If that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing, as I do give daily updates and weekly updates to get you prepared for the market ahead, because it is treacherous. So, state of the markets. Currently right now, we've been chopping a lot. I mean, even as you can see, we chopped a lot during Powell week. We have an essentially explosion. We had some good earnings, and so we ripped up for a couple days, and then we are back into chop. I'm thinking a strong possibility, even today, because of the close we had today, it was actually a really strong coming in, even though we did hit the 20 EMA. But we are back down between the 20 and the 50 and the 20 EMA on the weekly. So the dailies and the weekly, we are back under. And we've just been chopping the past couple of days. I know it's extremely frustrating. As far as the market's current situation, we have to understand that there's a lot of events coming up. We have core CPI, which is before market open on Thursday. And the core CPI that is coming out on Thursday, I really don't believe it is going to. I think the move it's going to have is temporary. It could start making the market move. There's a lot of different pieces that are moving here, so it's hard to really tell what it is primarily. And we have the core CPI. Then we got Powell next week. Powell being from the Senate, he's not going to be talking about any actual rate raises. I think he's going to be very general and the way he approaches, like he normally is, only because he's going to be getting asked questions from the Senate on his approach on how he's handling things. So there'll be a lot of questions next week. And then you also have essentially the FOMC meeting notes, which I think is what people might be waiting on to get more insight and detail into essentially kind of the mindset where Powell's at. That will come out next Wednesday. That'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Again, that will just roll out. There'll be no Powell to follow that. The Powell thing is separate. Again, he'll be in front of the Senate, essentially just taking questions. And then you also have, and one thing that I failed to remember was we do have the federal budget is coming up on the 18th. So that is something else. You got another catalyst, possibly bearish catalyst that is down the pipeline. So you got a lot of bearish catalysts, but I think it's a very good sentiment that the bulls are still pushing and holding the market where it's at. Again, we've corrected a lot. I don't know if there's a reason to correct more. Again, once we do get an actual rate raise, I think the market might do some correcting then. How much? It really just depends on how hawkish the Fed get. If the Fed really start laying into it, it could get bad. I think we could correct a little bit more. But ultimately, the market doesn't know. The market is just as confused as you and I are about where it's going. So there's a lot of different catalysts and pieces that are currently floating around right now. So the market, again, it's just playing as the short range. Again, there's still a lot of great earnings. There's some companies that did absolutely great, and two of them for my picks tonight have just completely obliterated earnings. And so being said, there, on top of everything, you still have your Amazon, your Tesla, your Apple, all right? They all did extremely well. Microsoft, they all did extremely well. Qualcomm, they did well. And then everything's just kind of afloat. But then we got everything next week, and then we got some bigger earnings like NVIDIA next week, Shop, and UPST next week. So there's a lot of big ones next week as well. So, but right now, again, just deal with the way the market is now. I know it's very frustrating, but we really wanted to break out of this range. Once it starts breaking out of this range, we can start seeing some movement again. Again, you'll probably only get like 3 or 4 day runs like we saw the previous week before we came into this week with some chop like this. And I think that's what you're going to continue to see. You're going to see some really explosive moves on some of the earnings because, again, I think a lot of the different profits will be taken from some industry leaders. Right, the industry leaders, I think, will take a good portion of profits, while some of the new and upcoming companies will probably be hurting a little bit more. So that's something to keep in mind, and kind of what's driving the market. Again, it's very there's not really a lot of in between, very extreme to both sides, and I think that's why the market is very confused at this time. And until it gets better clarification, I don't think we're going to get direction. But also understand that the market cycles as well, right? So we'll have this cycle, we'll get out of this cycle eventually, and then go back to having some longer term runs, some longer term swings, just being patient, trying to get through the cycle. I know it's frustrating. It frustrates everybody when the market gets like this. I mean, I haven't seen so much chop like this. I've been in some choppy markets, but this has definitely been one of the worst choppy markets I've ever been in. So being said, tomorrow's picks, I could go with some of the normal ones, especially if the market really starts going. But I wanted to bring up Chipotle. It's something I talked about in the beginning of the week. They crushed earnings. I really want to see where this is tomorrow, especially if it can hold this particular range here in the morning. Hold this essentially 1578. The 1555 mark. If we can hold in this range here, in this zone, I think if we can open up above here before market open, I think we got a pretty clean shot up to at least the 60, or got a clean shot up to 1600. Again, mental hurdle, right? This is the round number. You probably get rejected off that. You might actually push up. My next roll zone is up at the 1625. So you might get a clean shot up to there. It really depends if this trades flat. Now, if we open tomorrow and it's down here, again at the 1500 mark, that may not be a good sign. It's just a weakness in the market, and the general market sentiment is just not ready to move on. The market is waiting to see what, again, the Fed's going to do. So it all goes back to that. So if we do see this gap back down, it could be an issue. But if it does hold here, I do see a nice pop in the morning. Again, you want that hourly candle to open up above that 1580 mark. If it does do that, I think we can start running from that point. The other one I got is Enphase. Not one I've really traded a lot since over the past year or so. Had that essentially run last year as the Build Back Better, and then it kind of just died off and never really came back. But they destroyed earnings. So another one I want to watch tomorrow. See where it holds tomorrow. I do have Fibonacci on here. If it does come down the 159 mark, you really want to see where it holds. We do got support at the 162 mark on the daily, the 50 MA. But we do have support or resistance at that 200, that 170 mark as well. So you might get some rattling around here. But Enphase, I think is definitely one to watch when you get these huge gaps like this, 20-point moves. Even Chipotle was like 100-some point move. So you really want to keep those on watch, especially with momentum in this market. You want to see what the volume is and stay where the volume is. So these are two of the ones to definitely watch tomorrow. But if we do get a pullback, again, you can go down to 156 and still be pretty bullish. The only problem is if we do break back below this 162 mark, my concern is if it doesn't wick back up quickly, it's going to become resistance again, and you're going to get rejected and it starts to sell off. So you got to be really careful. Enphase, I would be more careful with. I think Chipotle has more strength and can hold better than Enphase. Enphase typically will pump and dump pretty quickly. So, but if it does hold again, that'd be fantastic. If we could actually tag that 162 and hold, that'd be great. And then again, try to open up above the 168 mark tomorrow, looking for that push up into tomorrow. So we have to see how that goes. Qualcomm is another big one I want to watch tomorrow. It actually started breaking up back above. We wanted to stay above this 176 mark. It looks like it retested right before close. If we can hold that tomorrow, I think a lot of your chips are going to start really ripping. We do have NVIDIA next week, and it's been really strong this week. It's been leading a lot of the chips. So if the chips start to gain strength again, definitely one to watch. We could get a clean pivot back up to that 190 mark, I think. But we have to really see it. Again, the market's been really rough, just trying to figure out what's going on with the Fed. Again, it's anybody's guess. The only person that really knows is Powell. So we have to be mindful and be cautious and agile till we really get clear direction from him. UPST is another big one I really like. It's been floating around this 195 mark. I tried to pick it up once today. I did short it because I thought the market was going to sell off. I did scalp this the second candle today off the top of the short. It's back up to that 100 mark. I think if you can hold that tomorrow, it's been holding this zone and then it's been popping up to the 105. So you got a pretty clean 5 points right there. I think in the morning, as long as it holds that 98 mark tomorrow. Again, this is 200 weekly. So we're at a really strong support here. I actually want to buy something here with time. If this does consolidate here again tomorrow, I do want to grab something with time and then keep that 94 mark essentially as my stop. I believe it does have earnings next week, and I think it's going to start really ripping into next week. I think it's going to be one of the very few, aside from ASML as well. I think we'll do really well, but that's on the earnings is on Thursday. I might look at option contracts and possibly play earnings for ASML. Again, in this environment, it's good to be small and precise and not to play positions heavy, especially because the market, especially technicals, haven't really been playing out the greatest. A lot of stuff that is supposed to be a breakout has been failing and just selling off. So you have to be mindful of that. So it's typically better just to play pops and play the other way, the opposite way, typically. But you have to be careful because I think at some point here soon, I think we're going to start running one way or the other. So you have to be mindful of that. This is why you need to be playing small until we get clear, concise direction moving forward. But that's pretty much what I got going into tomorrow. I don't want to have a big watch list. I would say Airbnb, but it already had a nice move today. This has been a good one to watch. Anytime it sells off heavily, it's always good to jump back in and see where it's at. So let's see what happens and go from that point. But again, just be cautious. Again, cash is a position in 2. Be mindful and just be patient and wait for it to come. But until then, thank you guys. Hit that like button. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.